LBC presenter Henry Riley was taken aback by one caller's bold comments about President Donald Trump's involvement in the Ukraine-Russia peace talks. LBC host Henry Riley was left exasperated when he was confronted by a furious caller about President Donald Trump's involvement in the Ukraine-Russia peace negotiations and whether Ukraine should be involved in them at all. During Henry's show on Wednesday, the caller, named Lisa, said, "Why should Trump have Ukraine at the heart?" Prompting Henry to furiously hit back, "What do you mean?" "Because it's their country, Lisa," the caller asked. "Why should Trump favor Ukraine?" Henry rebuked, "Because it's their sovereign territory that's been invaded. Why should they not be at the table? If Islington was invaded, do you not think the UK should be at the table?" Lisa said, "Well, we know what would happen if he was at the table, he would just repeat the same thing all over again." In 2022, there was a peace process and the Western countries and Boris Johnson scattered it. They didn't want to have peace, they wanted to continue fighting. This is a proxy war. It comes after Keir Starmer backed Volodymyr Zelensky in a phone call on Wednesday after Donald Trump claimed the Ukrainian president was a dictator without elections. In the call, the Prime Minister gave Mr. Zelensky his support as Ukraine's democratically elected leader and said it was perfectly reasonable to suspend elections during wartime as the UK did during World War II, according to a Downing Street spokesperson. The call followed a war of words between Mr. Trump and Mr. Zelensky, with the US president criticizing his Ukrainian counterpart for postponing elections and incorrectly claiming Ukraine started the war with Russia. Mr. Zelensky was elected as president of Ukraine in May 2019. Elections were previously scheduled to go ahead in 2024, but they were not held as a result of martial law being in place. Mr. Trump said at the Future Investment Initiative Forum, an organization run by Saudi Arabia's sovereign wealth fund, in Miami on Wednesday, he refuses to have elections, he's slow. And the real Ukrainian polls, I mean, how can you be high when every city is being demolished? It's hard to be. Somebody said, "Oh no, his polls are good. Give me a break. Every city is being demolished. They look like a demolition site. Every single one of them." In the meantime, we're successfully negotiating an end to the war with Russia, Henry groaned, because they didn't want to give up territory of a sovereign country. The broadcast sparked a strong reaction from LBC viewers and many took to social media to share their reactions. One wrote on X/Twitter, "Does nobody at LBC understand geopolitics? The US is the dominant power in the West, it does what it likes, when it likes and the UK and EU allow it to do so, they never, ever push back, so how can anyone be surprised at what the US is doing now?" And another said, "There needs to be an IQ filter for some of these phone-ins." Mr. Trump criticized Mr. Zelensky for being upset that he was excluded from Ukraine-Russia peace talks when talks were held in Saudi Arabia between Russia and the US. He said, he's very upset that he wasn't invited to Saudi Arabia. But he's been working for 3 years. There's never been even meetings or phone calls to stop this war. It's a horrible thing now. I love Ukraine. But Zelensky has done a terrible job. His country is shattered and millions of people have unnecessarily died. And you can't bring a war to an end if you don't talk to both sides. You got to talk. They haven't been talking for 3 years. Mr. Trump took to Trump Social after the speech to share a quote from Department of Government Efficiency head Elon Musk which said, "The president's instincts on Ukraine are absolutely right. It is really sad that so many parents have lost their sons, and so many sons their fathers in this pointless war." He told the BBC, "I think the Russians want to see the war end, I really do. I think they have the cards a little bit, because they've taken a lot of territory. They have the cards." When asked if he trusts that Russia wants peace, Mr. Trump said, "I do.